Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Sunday, May 31st, 2020, and today we're going to take a look at the 2020 House elections and discuss whether or not the Republican Party can win back a number of House seats in order to get over the 218 seats needed for a majority in the House. The Republican Party held the United States House of Representatives since 2010 up until the 2018 midterm elections, and the Democratic Party pretty much rewrote the entire map and effectively won back the House of Representatives, working with the same exact map that Republicans had continuously won time and time again. If we go ahead and take a look, in 2010, that was, I believe, the old House of Representatives map. Things definitely should have been, I guess, slightly adjusted if they were redrawn. Let's go ahead and see if the 2020, I know 2010 census must have occurred, so really all depends, but yeah, it definitely didn't change. But going ahead and taking a look, there's a number of the darker red states, or the states seats are the seats that were picked up by the GOP. They picked up 63, I believe. Let's go ahead and see. 63 seats nationwide, and it was one of the biggest Republican turnovers that we've seen in a very long period of time. In 2008, the Democratic Party had a very strong hold on the entire United States. Looking at the South, there were numerous Democratic seats, and even the Idaho 1st District went to the Democratic Party. Fun fact, that Democrat was endorsed by the NRA, and the only Democrat to be endorsed by the NRA in 2010. But they had a very strong hold in the Northeast, especially in the Rust Belt, looking north and South Dakota. 2 years later, they kicked them out. 63-seat gain for the Republican Party. Very, very large. Now, as we progress through the elections, in 2012 was the next time there was an election year in which the Democratic Party was still in the minority, and Obama had won the presidential election. And the Democratic Party gained 8 seats and brought up the margin to 234 to 201, around the numbers that we have right now. In 2014, the Republican Party came back and gained 13 seats nationwide, putting the Democrats in a very, very small, you can see the map before and how blue it was and how red it is now. The Republican Party effectively took over the United States in terms of House of Representatives. In 2016, there was some speculation as to whether or not Hillary Clinton or more so Donald Trump could, if he lost the election, if they could win back the House of Representatives. The Democrats only ended up gaining 6 seats nationwide. And as you can see on the 2018 map, it seems like a little bit more blue, but not much in terms of land size. A lot of the gains were in California and to the Northeast, very densely populated areas. So when we're taking a look at the 2018 House elections, the Democratic Party was very strong throughout the entire campaign season. They started off with around a 4% lead nationwide in terms of generic ballot and expanded that into being around a 9% lead by the end of the 2018 elections on Election Day. And that ended up being reflected in the overall national popular vote, in which the Democratic Party won by around 9% more, in terms of 9% more of the vote than the Republican Party nationwide. And it ended up with the Democratic Party at 53.4% and the Republican Party at 44.8%. In 2016, it was 49.1 to 48%. So there was definitely a drastic change, and turnout was actually very, very high. In 2016, turnout was 54.7%. 2018, turnout was 50.3%. If we go back to previous midterms, 36% in 2010, 39% in 2012, 2010, 40%. So the Democratic Party did something that Republicans didn't. When turnout is low, Republicans do well. When turnout is high, Democrats do well. And when you look at the 50% turnout in a midterm election, you can only speculate what might come up in 2020. But it is possible that voting by mail does suppress the vote, in the sense that less people do vote. But when we're looking at the overall 2020 map, we have to realize that we're working with a very similar landscape. The Democratic Party started off with around a 5% lead nationwide and has since grown that lead to around 8% nationwide, 7.3%, and then you round up to 8%. I guess not 7.3%. I'm stupid. But looking at the overall generic ballot numbers, it is very beneficial for the Democratic Party. Right now, they have an 8% lead nationwide, and that's very similar to what we saw in 2018, which means that it is possible that in 2020, they could hold on to as many seats if they continue to increase the amount of support that they have nationwide. And when we're looking at the number of retiring incumbents, if the Democratic Party comes close to what they did in 2018, they might as well have increased based off of the generic ballot. They led by here 8.7% and ended up winning by 9%, so they slightly outperformed, but it reflected what the generic ballot had said. Now they lead by 7.7% nationwide. They outperform. It could be an 8% margin of victory for the Democratic Party. So with a number of Republicans retiring, it gets a lot harder for the Republican Party to actually win back the majority. And I honestly don't think that it's super likely. Taking a look at the race ratings from the Cook Political Report, based off of April's 2020 numbers, they already put the Democratic Party past the majority number. And in fact, Real Clear Politics, which I've pretty much labeled as too scared to make any type of major projection, which is 100% true, looking at their overall electoral college map. I mean, they put swing states and lean states like New Jersey in the lean Democrat column, Missouri in the lean Republican column. We know that's not going to happen. I honestly just don't think that they want to be super solid about anything, but they even showed the Democrats at 213 seats. In 2016, we saw nothing similar to this. The Republican Party was past the majority, but that was reasonable. As we look into 2020, they are also being very reasonable with these numbers in the sense that it does undervalue the Democratic Party, as the 2016 numbers undervalued the Republican Party, or underestimated. But the Democratic Party being at 213 in an already very, very lenient model to both sides, that's spelling out bad news. If you look at the toss-up seats, the Democratic Party only needs 5. Okay, there's 31 here, and 9 of them are Republicans and Republican incumbents, and 22 have Democratic incumbents. Now, I'm not so sure if they take account for the 2 districts that are flipping over from the state of North Carolina into the Democratic column. I'd be surprised if they didn't, but looking at the overall total number of toss-ups, the Democratic Party literally only needs to carry 5 of these, and a number of these are in California. 4 alone of them are in California. 2 of them are in Georgia, areas that are expected to increase in terms of turnout. 3 of them in Iowa. I mean, the Democratic Party has a number of possibilities to just carry 5 of these seats in terms of holding on to the majority. And as we look through the entire as we look into the 2020 election, if Donald Trump doesn't end up winning, and ever since Obama, the presidential elections, regardless if it's a Democrat winning on the presidential level or not, they have increased numbers for the Democrats in the United States House of Representatives. It is possible that the Democrats do increase seats in 2020, much less a Republican Party victory in the House of Representatives. This is an area that seems off limits, but keep in mind the Republican Party held control of this map for 8 years. Since 2010 to 2018, I guess you could say 2000, whenever they got inaugurated, so 2011 to 2019. But in reality, in terms of election basis, we have 2010 to 2018, in which the Republican Party, with the same exact House map, had the majority. It just seems now that a lot of those Republican incumbents were ousted, and a number of them retired, most notably Paul Ryan, handing over the, if they did win, the speakership would be to Kevin McCarthy, most likely. And now he's the minority leader in the House of Representatives. And when you're taking a look at the overall House of Representatives map, some of these areas that are very solid for the Democrats previously had Republican incumbents. So I think that if there was a scenario in which the Republican Party came close to winning back the House of Representatives, it would be on the back of Donald Trump. Right now, they're not doing well in terms of the congressional vote. They're not doing well in terms of the Senate polls right now, in terms of state-by-state races. Even though not every state has a Senate election, a number of them are flipping to the Democratic Party based off the current data we have right now. And on the presidential level, Joe Biden looks like he's on track to win the presidency. So with 3 Democratic possible scenarios in the House, Senate, and the presidential election, that effectively makes it even worse for the GOP. Even if they did focus a lot of their money on the House of Representatives elections, the main focus of this election is the presidential election, regardless of them trying to win in certain areas or not, meaning what if they wanted to just focus on the House? What if they wanted to win back the House? They gave up the presidency, gave up the Senate elections just to win back the House of Representatives to deny a newly elected President Biden from a budget or something similar to that. Even then, the Republican Party would have to be overcoming numerous obstacles. They need 21 seats in order to win back the majority. Now, I'm not going to say that's impossible because there are more than 21 seats in the toss-up column, but you have to be realistic. A lot of these seats, even if half of them go to the Democratic Party, they win back the majority. That's it. That's all they need. And keep in mind, there are still some Republican seats. So take that away from 21 in terms of seats that are already expected to go to the GOP. They need 30 toss-up seats to go in favor of the Democratic Party. They can rely on what the Cook Political Report even considers the lean, because even if you do base it off the Cook political report, the Republican Party can't even win back the majority unless they dig into the lean Democratic column. And there were numerous seats that were brought out of the lean and possibly even likely, like Oklahoma's 5th district in 2018, which were brought over to the Democratic column, but those seats aren't necessarily likely to go to the Democratic Party again. So the Republican Party has possibilities of some pickups, but I honestly don't see any pathway for them to get 21. We're talking about numerous Republican retirements and a number of Republican and Democratic toss-up seats when they really only need 5 out of them. It's going to be very difficult for the GOP, especially since we're working with a very similar landscape to 2018. The numbers don't look all that different, and the spreads don't look all that different either. The Democratic Party consistently led throughout the entire campaign season, and as is the Democratic Party now. So if we're drawing parallels between 2018, it looks very similar in terms, well, it is the exact same House map except for the state of North Carolina. And that's going to be, and Pennsylvania, based off of, actually, no, Pennsylvania changed before 2018. So when we're looking at the House of Representatives landscape, very similar, the same as 2018, and the generic ballot is very similar, just slightly, and I mean by less than a percentage point, worse for the Democratic Party nationwide. But other than that, I really don't see a pathway to a Republican majority in the United States House of Representatives. Is it possible? Not really. Anything's possible in terms of what we have on the overall elections in 2020, but being realistic, being completely honest, the Republican Party probably doesn't have a shot at the House of Representatives unless something drastically changes the landscape that we're looking at right now. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to comment down suggestions below. Tomorrow will be my Joe Biden versus Donald Trump updated projection for the 2020 election. So I'm going to start doing them I guess, bi-weekly now, because we are getting around 5 months out from the 2020 election. So it should be very easy to go ahead and just cover those. And the map is probably going to shift very quickly and a lot. So yeah, thank you guys again for watching this video. Comment down suggestions below. Subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you all tomorrow.